I'm a firefighter.
A teacher.
I'm a farmer.
A manager.
I'm a barber.
A waitress.
A student.
A mom.
A concerned citizen.
We're all part of your community.
Every day brings surprises.
A flat tire.
Midday traffic.
Out of control Jewish neocons.
There's always something unexpected.
And honestly, that's fine.
It's when you experience a moment of uncertainty.
Something you know shouldn't be there.
Or someone's behavior that doesn't seem quite right.
These are the moments to take a pause.
Because if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not.
It's not about paranoia.
Or being afraid.
It's about standing up and protecting our communities.
One detail at a time.
Because a lot of little details can become a pattern.
We
We trust our instincts.
Just like you should.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
We all play a role in keeping our communities safe.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hello. It is the 29th of July. It's 10:09 p.m, which means in Washington DC it's around 9 a.m. Saturday morning. But I do believe the Office of Homeland Security is still open. I'm going to ring the Office of Homeland Security. We're going to report Department of Homeland Security. We're going to report Zionist terrorists. Back here in reporting Zionist terrorists to authorities, how you do it. This is back on October the 22nd, 2014, where just after I've been run by Minister Joe Francis, and who assured me he and his commissioner in charge of the prison systems in Western Australia, Mr. James McMahon, who's an ex-Special Forces commander, ex-SAS Special Air Service commander, would have my back and his back, and we'd have a beer, and he told me about all the corruption in his own department, which the serving minister, Joe Francis, the minister in charge of prisons, was scared of. Anyway, I was, why is that published on October 22nd? When was the grand final? Because I actually took the film on the grand final day, on 18th of October. That doesn't sound right. The grand final's in September. Anyway, it was grand final day. We just started. And I called our equivalent of the Office of Homeland Security, which is the Alert But Not Alarmed Office. I don't even know what it's called. Hello, boys and girls. It is the terrorist hotline. And I was a little bit alarmed about Israeli spying and terrorist activities. So this was, what, nearly 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. The bell tower boy. What are we doing today? We are going to ring the National Security Hotline. I just want you to know that I'm alert and I am alarmed. Very alarmed. Let's skip to the ad now. It's a pretty funny ad. Wait a minute, forgot this.
Be alert, but not alarmed. Together, let's look out for Australia. If you see something suspicious, call 1-800-123-400.
Pretty good ad. Are you alert but not alarmed? I don't know how many people are ringing the Department of Homeland Security doing stunts like this to raise awareness within that department about Israeli spying. Probably no one. But as I said, I've done this 2 and a bit years ago. There was a woman, an Australian woman, who did this too. This is where I got the idea to do this. She went to a public phone. She's a pothead. She's pretty funny. And she got on the phone to, I should find it, but anyway. And she got on the phone to the Australian version of Homeland Security. So, and you might also want to say, you want to get Russia and Israel controlled Trump, which really should be Russia and Israel steal US high technology via the TELPIL program. And also greater Soviet era 2.0 penetration of the US high-tech sector exposed. And like the F-35 has just landed about 6 months ago in Israel. Now all the Russian technicians, because the Israeli high technology sector is dominated by Russians, most of whom admit they're not even Jewish, they don't even identify as Jewish. They're Russians and they fly backwards and forwards to Russia. So this is a technology transfer to the Russians, which Putin is very happy about, obviously. Think about it. Think about it. So, let us now ring and hopefully it's going to work. Let's see. You can do this too. Are you going to do it? Come on now.
Department of Homeland Security, main switchboard operator 1. How can I direct your call?
Hello, my name is Brendan O'Connell. I'm an Australian citizen calling from Malaysia. I'm not sure where to be directed to. It was regarding security breaches within the US high technology sector. I'm not really sure who to speak to.
Okay, so you're calling for to leave a tip or information, or?
Well, I presume so. Yeah, it's regarding technology transfers via Israel into Russia. I have some information that I've come across.
Okay, so you just have information you'd like to leave? So
Yeah.
is it a tip or is it...
Well, you could call it a tip. I have a YouTube channel where I do some very specific allegations against the Israeli high technology sector, transferring US high technology, such as the F-35 stealth fighter, a multi-role fighter, into Russia, because there's a lot of Russian technicians working in Israel. And I've also passed this information on to Australian authorities who have also bought the aircraft, and I've spoken with Inspector Barry Shelton in charge of state counter-terrorism. Also a Minister, Joe Francis, formerly in charge of the prison system, and his Commissioner, James McMahon, who's a ex-Special Forces Commander in the Australian Special Air Service. And I've also spoken to several of the intelligence agencies in Australia, and I just wanted to pass this information on to a relevant government department. So people are taking it seriously. I'm just wondering whether American authorities are aware of this issue.
Okay, so you're calling as just a citizen?
Yeah, I am a citizen. Yeah, just a citizen. I'm not affiliated with any government department or a specific role in any agency.
Okay, all right. Hold on. I'm going to transfer you to the tip line. One moment, please.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this too.
You have reached the Homeland Security Investigations tip line. If you have a life or death emergency, please hang up and dial 911. National Security, press 4. To report.
Let's report these Zionist terrorists. Let's go. Let's rock. Yes.
Security Investigations tip line.
G'day, my name
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. What would you like to report?
My name is Brendan O'Connell. I'm an Australian citizen. I'm calling from Malaysia. I've had previous interactions with the Australian government, including the head of counter-terrorism in Western Australia, Inspector Barry Shelton. It's regarding Israeli spying and passing on US high technology to Russia, which I've been completely dumbfounded how ignorant apparently many US departments are about this. And I'm just wondering, can you suggest yourself or the best department to go through to get this material on the record? Because I've spoken with ministers in Australia, because they are buying the F-35, which has been delivered to Israel, which has now been their technicians, their high technology. Most of their high technology companies are actually in Israel, run by Russian citizens, many of whom aren't even Jewish. This is what I write about and also what I make videos about. And I'm just curious as to what department or senator or congressman should I report this to, or should I just report it to you personally at the Department of Homeland Security?
Well, you can do it online and send it to us, and then we can send it to the right people. I mean, it could go to an attaché. It could go, to headquarters, in Washington. If you just go, it sounds like you have a lot of information. If you go to www.ice.gov, ice.gov.
So, .gov?
Yeah, ice.gov. It's the main page.
Right.
And up in the top right, you'll see report crimes, and you'll see the number you've just called here, and then you'll see next to it email. Above that,
report crimes. See, yes, sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden up there. So see the email. So if you click on email, you can submit it via email, and we'll get it, and we'll send it to the right people. That's a good way to do it. It's immediate, so yeah. Or you can, if you just want to give a teaser or a little, summary and say you're willing to be contacted, that could work too. Whatever you prefer. But that's probably the best way to do it. I mean, you could tell me over the phone, but it sounds pretty complicated. I mean, I don't know how I'll do it.
Well, I think for the record, just for you, this issue has been around for some time. Phil Giraldi used to have lunch with a friend of mine. Phil Giraldi was a former counterintelligence officer attached to the Turkish embassy. And Phil Giraldi's on C-SPAN. He's quite well known.
One other very good reason why Israel should not receive billions of dollars in military assistance annually is its persistent espionage against the United States. The existence of a large-scale Israeli spying effort at the time of 9/11 has been widely reported, incorporating Israeli companies in New Jersey and Florida, as well as hundreds of art students nationwide. 5 Israelis from one of the companies were observed celebrating against the backdrop of the Twin Towers going down. Israel, where government and business work hand in hand, has obtained significant advantage by systematically stealing American technology with both military and civilian applications. The U.S. developed technology is then reverse engineered and used by the Israelis to support their own exports. Sometimes when the technology is military in nature and winds up in the hands of an adversary, the consequences are serious. Israel has sold advanced weapon systems to China that are believed to incorporate technology developed by American companies, including the Python 3 air-to-air missile and the Delilah cruise missile. There is evidence that Israel has also stolen Patriot missile avionics to incorporate into its own Arrow system, and that it used U.S. technology obtained in its Lavi fighter development program, which was funded by U.S. taxpayers, to help the Chinese develop their own J-10. The reality of Israeli spying is indisputable. I might cite the names of Jonathan Pollard, Ben Ami Kaddish, Stuart Nozet, and Larry Franklin as spies for Israel have been caught, but they are only the tip of the iceberg. Israel always features prominently in the annual FBI report called Foreign Economic Collection and Economic and Industrial Collection. The 2005 report states, Israel has an active program to gather proprietary information within the United States. These collection activities are primarily directed at obtaining information on military systems and advanced computing applications that can be used in Israel's sizable armaments industry. It adds that Israel recruits spies, uses electronic methods, and carries out computer intrusion to gain the information. A 1996 Defense Investigative Service report noted that Israel has great success stealing technology by exploiting the numerous co-production projects that it has with the Pentagon. It says, placing Israeli nationals in key industries is a technique utilized with great success. A General Accounting Office examination of espionage directed against American defense and security industries described how Israeli citizens residing in the U.S. had stolen sensitive technology to manufacture artillery gun tubes, obtained classified plans for reconnaissance systems, and passed sensitive aerospace designs to unauthorized users.
He's been talking for years, as have many other serving intelligence community personnel, about spying in Israel and how they're, it's been in newspapers about, on-selling, many US generals being very upset about Israel on-selling technology to China. And now Israel has basically said we're dumping America and we're going with India and China and Russia. I don't think many Americans are fully aware just how close Israel, particularly under the Netanyahu government, is with Vladimir Putin. And many of the allegations against Trump are quite correct. There's a huge Russian influence. Assure me many of the technicians, particularly the electrical engineering and really PhDs in all sorts of areas, and engineers are actually Russians, many of whom are not even Jewish. They don't even identify as Jewish at all. But the last 20 years, the Israeli government has been encouraging them to come in, and they are basically running the Israeli high technology sector. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but the most advanced CPU fabrication factory in the world, Intel, is actually in Israel, in Eragot, Israel. And this basically, Russians have the full run of the place, considering that Russia is on-selling all sorts of stuff to places like Iran, which I've been to Iran for 10 weeks. I actually applied for political asylum in Iran. It's a very long story, which was accepted verbally. I left because Iran was a very strange place. I left there and came back to Malaysia. I realized that there's something very strange going on, and I'm not sure whether it's US high technology firms and military contractors keen to see quote unquote enemies of the United States. You remember President Eisenhower in his farewell address, he said, beware the power of the military industrial complex. There's big money in weapons trading, and of course if you're going to justify weapons budgets you need an enemy. Now, without getting too all over the place, I've had discussions with Inspector Barry Shelton, the head of counter-terrorism in Western Australia, where I'm originally from, Perth, Western Australia. I've had discussions with ministers in charge of various in Western Australia, Joe Francis, and his commissioner is James McMahon, a former colonel in the Special Forces, the Special Air Service, which is like Combat Applications Group, Navy SEAL, Delta Force stuff. And they were very interested in my information. They invited me out for a beer. Now, I'm very surprised at how, even though it's quite public, how actual government departments, how woefully underinformed they are about the close relationship between Russia and Israel over the last 20 years. And that literally you've just dumped the F-35, one of the most advanced multi-role aircraft, into Israel's arms, and now the technicians running over that in places like Elbit Systems, which are modifying the helmet for the F-35, they're modifying the screens for the F-35, its multifunction displays, are actually populated by Russian technicians, and they brag that most of them don't learn Hebrew, don't identify as Jewish, and they're literally running backwards and forwards from Israel to Russia. And the One Belt, One Road agreement that's been agreed to between... Oh, I've been cut off. Well, anyway, he's got a bit of info. I'm going to send this email now via the... let's do it now.
Well, I did that video over a week ago now. I've just been so busy I haven't had a chance to finish it, but I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. I urge you, you're not going to get in trouble. It's a major public interest. I urge you to start, like the bucket challenge. Surely we can get something really practical and useful happening. Let's ring Homeland Security. Let's make appointments to see our local FBI or Australian Federal Police or Scotland Yard or European equivalent and start going and talking to the professionals. If I've got a leaky pipe, I go and get a plumber. If there's a major national security issue involving a bunch of racist, homicidal lunatics in a little state built on the foundation of racial hatred and racial supremacism and religious supremacism, where they call us slaves and worthy of death, and we're Amalekites, the hereditary enemy that should be wiped from the face of the earth. With that in mind, I don't want them getting all their hands on all the AI, robots and 5G technology which is coming out of Israel. Now, some will say Israel is irrelevant, Max, but I think you're vastly mistaken. I mean, what could go wrong? The latest high-tech 5G, artificial intelligence, robotics and self-driving cars, all operating off the 5G network, all coming out of Israel, combined with Jewish racial and religious supremacism and ruling the earth from Jerusalem and killing off anyone who gets in your way. I don't know about you, but I don't find Israel, quote, irrelevant, unquote. So let's not associate these subjects with shape-shifting lizards or the royals drinking children's blood and all of the other stuff. Trust me, you haven't seen the royals drinking blood. You read it on the internet. So why don't you get a little bit serious, and less Sieg Heils and Unite the Right garbage, and a little bit more independent pro-action, offline, online, if you know what I mean. So make appointments to see your local FBI field office, make appointments to see Scotland Yard, Australian Federal Police, European equivalents, wherever are you in the world, make an appointment, become conversant in the subject, and then head off and also start recording calls to the Office of Homeland Security to complain about Israel, a state which brags that it's stealing high technology, hand over fist, and becoming a world leader in extremely dangerous technology. It's freaking time. It's time. Let's get off the internet somewhat and start doing some practical stuff offline. Remember, if I've got leaky pipes, I see a plumber. When I have a problem, a criminal problem on multiple levels, I go and see the FBI, I go and see my state police, I go and see the Office of Homeland Security. Make an appointment, particularly if you have an interest in this field, you're either highly conversant or you're actually retired or serving in the intelligence community or policing community or armed forces community. This is so easy to win, and we've got to stop jerking around with Sieg Heil, goose-stepping garbage and idiot shape-shifting lizard, UFO, Yeti garbage with people who are multi-millionaires begging for cash. I think it's time you started to get a little more discerning. You can call me bad-tempered and abusive. Well, you know what? I am to some people. I also have a lot of friends as well. I mean business. I want to get this fixed. I've lost skin in the game. Let's get busy. Let's finish the job. On a side note, 23,900 Australian dollars was deposited into my Bitcoin account on July the 23rd. I had no idea till 3 days ago. So things just got serious. We're just transferring $10,000 as we speak into the lawyer's account. Every single cent will be accounted for. I'm fairly new to Bitcoin. I've only used it 3 times before. I didn't even check for the last month. I haven't even looked. As I said, when you start upsetting people's received messiahs, the donations drop off. Upset Trump, upset Putin. Anyway, so let's get busy. Let's get a bucket challenge happening this time. Let's ring the Office of Homeland Security, get down to your FBI field office, become conversant in the subject, and we're going to start encouraging others to do it and start filming it. Okay, ciao for now. I'll keep you up to date on what's happening with the lawyers. This is really big. The High Court case is really big. There are no shape-shifting lizards, no blood-drinking royals, no goose-stepping, no white race genocide. It's just going to be matter of fact, facts and figures, very boring, but it's going to make a huge difference. This is big. Just to remember, I'm going to talk about this more very soon. Just remember, central to the High Court appeal is getting leave to appeal. And one of those things will be that the Israeli state has directly interfered in the case. This is huge. It has never happened before in history. No one's talking about it. No sooner does Germa Rudolph, you know who Germa Rudolph is? He served 3 years jail for writing a report that Fred Leuchter's work on showing that there was no cyanide residue in the so-called quote-unquote gas chambers at Auschwitz. When he proved that via his own scientific knowledge that this wasn't so, he was jailed for 3 years, and even his lawyer was jailed for a year for defending him too vigorously. Well, he got an email contact, and around the same time, after I'd made a plea somewhat to get to the High Court, and lo and behold, the money turns up. Germa Rudolph is chatting briefly in an email, and 13 days later, Zundel dies. How interesting. Rest in peace to Zundel. There's another story. Things are getting interesting. Come on, get down to your FBI field office. Let's get out in the field. Time is short. Let's not let Israel get hold of this new emerging artificial intelligence, robotics, 5G technology. Start getting serious. No more lizards. No more tales of blood-drinking royals. You know nothing about that. You read it on the freaking internet. Let's get serious. Come on, people. This is not about entertainment. This is getting really, really serious, and we can win. It's a long fight, but we can win this phase. Ciao for now. Talk very, very soon.